Welcome to Let's Hookah. This is a podcast where we talk about everything from hookup stories to hookah stories and anything else we want to talk about. Today we have Atheer Yacoub.
Hi. Was I supposed to jump in?
No, that was your last name, right?
Yeah.
For a moment I was like, wait, is that your last name?
Yeah, you looked at me and you're like, I don't know, is it? No.
Because I just had Mo on, right? I just had Mo on, and his last name is also Yacoub.
It is. He spelled it with a Q. And unrelated.
Yours is with a C?
C-O-U-B. The correct way.
The correct.
There's no correct way because in our languages it's phonetic, right?
Right.
So in English
sure.
it's like whatever.
Whatever it is. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
So good to finally have you.
Yes. This is so cool.
You're one of few comedians that I knew for sure would be down with smoking hookah. So
yeah, this is probably not great for my image as a nutritionist. I hope this doesn't
mine
get
as
out.
a neuroscientist.
Right, this is not good. But you know what? It's cultural, and if you don't like this, then it's a hate crime.
Yeah.
No. I was like allowed to smoke hookah since I was 10 years old.
That is wild.
That was like the first time not on a regular, but I've tried it when I was like 10, 12.
That's like alcohol for a lot of Western people, right? I know these people in Italy who were like, yeah, we tried wine in church when we were like 6 years old.
True. So it's like, because we don't have alcohol, we just have smoking. That's why our people smoke so much.
So much. Yeah. And you're Palestinian. Your people really smoke a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all my Palestinian friends back in Denmark, they would all have, it would be so normal for them to smoke at home with their parents.
Oh yeah. My mom loves it when I come. All we do is sit outside on the patio and smoke.
I love that. For us, it's more like you go out to like a cafe.
Yeah. But I mean, in Alabama, it's like, where I grew up partially and in Palestine. But no, in Palestine, when I was there in the summer, it's the best now. It's a delivery service. So we didn't want to, we were just hanging out at home. We didn't feel like making it. So we were like, oh, let's just get it delivered.
That's
it's like the seamless for a hookah.
I know you can get that in in the UK, you can get that, but that's more like for parties.
Oh, no, just like two little hookahs and they come pick it up after you're done.
Wow.
Yeah.
They really hacked the system.
They did.
That's a lot of back and forth for them, though. It's not just delivery,
I think it's worth it, though, for them. It must be. I mean, people don't make money there, so I guess it's worth it.
Yeah.
But it's not a lot of labor or overhead.
I guess not, yeah. And the cost is very little, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never understood.
You're using the thing, like, it doesn't cost them anything.
I never understood why hookah places charge so much for hookah. Like, tobacco is not that expensive.
You know what's crazy in New York? I went to a place where they charged you. First of all, it was the shitty self-igniting coal that smelled like gasoline and carcinogens, and on top of carcinogens, and they charged $2 to get another charcoal.
That's just offensive.
That's criminal. Yeah,
that's like.
Can you imagine?
Wow. So
there was this place that we went to, and like my friend was like, he told me that he would bring his own charcoal.
Did he?
Oh
my God.
They can't tell the self-ignite. Yeah, if you're just bringing your own and adding it.
And just adding it on top. That's true.
Criminal. How dare you charge for charcoal?
How dare you? That's
on top
a part
of
the service.
$40 of like the hookah.
Yeah, I once went to this place in Inwood. And they were like, they had a tiny head on, a little bit of tobacco. And I was like, we need more coal because they had the self-igniting ones. And they're like, that's a like surcharge. And I was so offended. I was like, you've taken something that is Middle Eastern and
was this a Dominican spot?
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
Because Middle Eastern people would not and also, I'm sorry, like it's not usually good quality because we're very particular about our like, your tobacco, your coal, how high the water is. Like people don't know the intricacies of hookah smoking, not burning it, smoking for a while. Although this is challenging because, the more for the listeners at home, if you want to learn how to hookah more efficiently, you got to keep it going. And it's funny, my hardcore friend, they'd always be like, smoke or talk.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's how I am with my friends too.
And my mom would be like, this is something they say like, oh, do you mind passing your microphone? If you're just sitting there talking into it.
Oh, that's what I should do.
Oh, I like your microphone, Atheer. I'm like, oh, here you go. Sorry. It's like a gentle,
I will be this person.
Reminder.
I will look at you. I'll be like, is she going to smoke it?
I do that too.
And then I'll just keep reaching out.
I know.
Yeah.
I do that too. And I'm like, smoke or talk. But now we're doing both, and it's tricky, and it's going to burn. It's
kind of tricky, yeah. It's going to burn a bit. This one is great. I really like this hookah. It took me a while to get used to this format because it doesn't have the ventilator on. So it ventilates in a different way. I don't know what the mechanism is.
It's very pretty, though. I like the gold on there.
The aesthetic, yeah. I was like, it fits my place.
Yeah. I have one that's tiny that my mom got me, which is funny. And then when you came over when I had my barbecue, I had that little square one, which is great. It actually works really well. And it's great really for like barbecues and like taking it out like to the park and stuff.
For sure. And it's plastic,
it doesn't break.
Right?
Yeah. But it works surprisingly well.
Yeah. Yeah, just for the record, we're not being sponsored by Big Tobacco or Big Hookah Industry.
Unfortunately, but if you want to sponsor us, please
absolutely
write in.
A little ad for tobacco. Yeah.
Because they need it, you know.
Yeah, they need it. Because
not enough people are smoking.
No one's smoking anymore. You know? Yeah.
But it's funny, when I was back in Palestine, everyone was like smoking cigarettes indoors. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I could do without that. You know, just the constant cigarette smoke. They smoked in hospitals. I remember one time I went to a hospital, I fainted, and then outside of a hospital, luckily. And then people were just smoking in the lobby.
That is doctors. Wild. Wait, what year was this?
This was in Palestine, so it's like they probably still do that. But years ago.
They're like, this is not the thing that's going to kill us. It's something else.
They're like, have you seen what's going on? Turn on the news. The Israelis are going to kill us before the cigarettes do.
The cigarettes. Who lives that long in Palestine anyway? Do you know what the average age?
I don't know in the West Bank. I know, I think I read in Gaza, it's like 17.
I remember
which is
reading that it's like a crazy low number. It is just, yeah.
But it's hard to say with the West Bank as a whole. Like, I don't know.
Is that where your family lives?
Yeah.
The West Bank? Cool. So how was your summer trip there?
Oh, incredible. Not long enough. I actually had to come back for a comedy show. No, I mean, I was happy to have shows. Like I'm on this Muslim tour, so it wasn't like I wasn't coming back for a bar show. I wasn't going out of my way to come back across country for a drink ticket.
And your Muslim show is for charity, right?
Mm-hmm. You want to? Yeah. It's for CARE, for Council of American Islamic Relations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they help fight the hate crimes and Islamophobia and all of that. So we're doing like a fundraising tour.
That's amazing.
Cool. Yeah, it's been fun.
What places have you gone to so far?
Oh, the exotic places of Raleigh, North Carolina, West Virginia, just like all the exotic spots.
Wow. Oh gosh. But there are no Muslims living out there, right?
There are.
So Muslims are who come to the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like cross culture dialogue kind of thing.
Yeah, we want other people to come out. We would, but I think the target audience is Muslims who like also want to donate to these charities.
I see. Okay, that makes sense
because they have like a stake in it, but it's been cool. It's been interesting. Yeah,
I see.
I'm like I'm like about to smoke from the microphone instead of the hookah.
So Alabama. That must have been fun. I'm saying that. I guess I need to tell people that
the backstory.
Americans don't really get sarcasm that much. That was me being sarcastic.
Oh my God, Jansu, this is really difficult for me because I don't even realize, because I think when I even think about our language, I don't know if it's the same in like Kurdish, like we're just very sarcastic and dry.
Yeah.
And right. And I never really thought of us that way, like kind of the way the Brits are, but I never thought about that. But I realize like people sometimes don't know, and I realize I'm just sarcastic all the time, and it's just built into the language as well. Like in Arabic and like in our mannerisms and our like and I realize like sometimes even when I'm being sincere, it sounds sarcastic.
And I think, it sounds sarcastic. I thought you meant that people couldn't tell.
Both. People can't tell when I'm sarcastic, and they can't tell when I'm serious. It's starting to meld it together into one tone.
I see. It's just the same so far.
It just sounds the same, so they can't read my intention or context sometimes.
Right. For me, the assumption should be that I'm being sarcastic. It's very rare that I'm being like 100% earnest.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Today I had a new psychiatrist, and he was going through the intake, and I was like, I just need a refill, man, because my other psychiatrist like left the practice or something.
Oh, wow.
And he was just going through all the intake, and he's like really dry, and he's like, so where's now tell me about your trauma. And then I started laughing, and I was like, it's just your run-of-the-mill, war-torn immigrant bombing, shooting trauma.
Yeah,
and And I'm like, and also he like, then when he found out I was a comedian, he like perked up, and he was like, what? Get out of here. Like, he went from the most dry human being ever. And I was like, oh God, I need to switch psychiatrists immediately.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, what psychiatrist is like fun? But, and then he was like, what? Get out of here. He's like, you're my first comedian. And then he like settled. And anyway,
he has a room full of faces of his first patient.
First Palestinian, probably, for who knows.
Palestinian
from
comedian
Alabama.
From Alabama.
It was funny because it was like, this is just clearly for an intake form. And it's like, I was like, where do you want to begin? He was like, so tell me about your trauma. And I just laughed. I was like laughing, crying. I was like, where
feels like he might have been. That feels like a joke, right?
It did. It really did. I was like, I think he was trying to diagnose me, and he was like, oh, do you have like flashback? I was like, I definitely have PTSD of sorts. Because he was like, oh, do you avoid situations? Or I was like 4th of July, like fireworks. I was like, yes, I stay home during that because I can't deal with like the fireworks. It's just too much. Wow. Like intellectually, I know it's like, especially if I see it, it's better. But if I just hear it, and I live in Brooklyn. There's in Bed-Stuy, there's like fireworks going off all the time. Like even just the other day, there was fireworks going off. But I could tell usually the difference. But like sometimes if it's right next to my apartment, then I'm like, oh God. And there's actual gunshots.
Right. That too.
But
that too.
I don't know. I'm just like, it was just kind of funny. I was like, how much time do you have to hear about my trauma? I was like, don't worry, I'm in therapy. I don't need you to therapize me right now. Right. And he was like, okay. But then he was fine at the end of it. I've never had a male psychiatrist. All my providers are usually women of color. At least he was a black man. So I was like, all right, at least he got kind of like the
he's got a POC experience, right?
Exactly,
really
exactly,
matters.
Which helps. It does. I can't just go like a straight white man who I'm like, you're the enemy. You're the reason I'm depressed. No, but
well, that was the craziest thing for me. First time I started therapy was only like 3 years ago, and the guy I got, I was like, oh my God, it's a middle-aged white man. This is literally the people I avoid constantly. But I was so surprised. This guy just got it. The first few times I was so hesitant with him. I was not willing to open up. But he just proved himself to be so amazing. Wow. And I was just like, wow, this guy gets it.
He
cool. Started making comments like,
I'm shocked.
Started making comments about white male spaces. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I really lucked out with him. After that, I had an Iranian woman, and she was so horrible. I was like,
sometimes our own people also are really harsh on us.
Yeah.
And I usually try to go to, all my providers are women of color, but usually not Middle Eastern.
Yeah, I actually am starting that app that you use. I signed up, and
they're great. Valera, we should plug them. Honestly,
let's plug them.
They're like one of the few places also take Medicaid.
Right.
And online therapy. So like this, and the they have everything. It's like a one-stop shop. We should be sponsored by them. But all my I've been telling everybody, because most of us are on Medicaid, like comedians. And so, it's hard to find first of all, it's hard enough to find a therapist or provider that takes insurance, period.
Right.
And then for someone who is not like in a back alley to take Medicaid, it's like really hard. So I found a lot of the best providers. So I feel like, and I do my research. I mean, I'm a provider myself in healthcare. So it's like, I kind of try to do my due diligence with that. But have you started yet?
So I'm starting tomorrow. Yeah.
And you could always change if you don't like your person.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a nice thing. It's like, you don't have to go through the whole.
Because they have a whole list of people, and that seems nice.
Yeah. And you can just tell them what you're looking for.
Is it harsh?
A little bit, just because we're like talking in between.
Yeah.
Which is hard because For the listeners and viewers at home, you got to keep it going. And that's why cigarette smokers can't really smoke hookah, because they're like used to taking small puffs and it burns it. But if you have to take a lot of long puffs.
You have to take long puffs and not really inhale in the same way.
Yeah, not inhale. Yeah. Else you won't be choking on it.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what that's going to look like.
I'm excited for it. I think it's great. I've been using it for a couple of years. I've had a couple of different therapists. I currently have a white woman, and I was going to change like immediately. And I think now we're vibing, you know?
Yeah.
It's working out.
I wonder do you ever feel that way? So when you were coming, you said, sorry for being on brown time.
Yeah. And I'm a half hour late, which is actually probably brown early. So
it's brown early. But I thought about this thing where, we assign colors to things. So, we call, how we say something is dark, that usually means that it's not good. If people use words like black and dark and brown for like things that are not necessarily good.
Right.
I was just thinking about that because
you're right.
Which is an issue, right? Because it's all about what language does and what we really put out there, what we're saying with those words. But I remember I had this friend back in the UK who used to be like, yeah, I only connect with dark people. Not skin color, but people who are dark.
Like dark sense of humor? Like
just kind of traumatized, really.
Oh, like emo dark, kind of like...
So kind of like, people with goth. Luggage.
Yeah.
Not goth, but...
Yeah, just emotionally traumatized, emotional baggage.
Exactly.
So you're trauma bonding, essentially, which I guess we all do to an extent. Oh, God, yeah. I was like... This was a bit I was thinking about in the shower after my therapy when he was like, tell me about your trauma. I'm like, what is this, a first date? I feel like that's sometimes, like I dated one guy that just trauma dumped on me. And I'm realizing, and I think I was telling you this earlier, that people tend to like trauma dump on me. And I used to take that as like a badge of honor. Like, okay, people feel comfortable enough talking to me. And then it's like I've been internalizing a lot of it and people's energies. And then I'm like, I need to take a step back. And I realize also I don't want to trauma dump on people because sometimes it's like I hold it all in and then I have to like, word vomit on somebody else. And then it's a cycle.
Yeah.
And let's all just go to the apps, not the dating apps,
who are
but
qualified and get paid.
Yeah, qualified. Yes, exactly. Because like, I'm like, I've been trying to just like be a listener and not feel like I have to solve people's problems.
Right. Regardless though, you do take it with you around.
You do,
even if you're not solving. I had this is another friend who used to
try to keep this hookah going. It's hard. This is a challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge. It's a part of, I guess, the challenge of the podcast. But she used to, so she'd come over a lot during a time where she was going through a lot. And one day she said, I was so overwhelmed with her being, in my space all the time, but I let it, I felt like she needed to be.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a good friend. And one day she said, I love that I can just come and like talk to you. And then when I leave, you just don't think about it. Like you just like,
is that what she thinks?
That's what she thought. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, if someone dumps their issues on me, I will take it around with me and I will obsess over it. And I was like, do you really think that you leave and I stop thinking about it? Like, I just like...
Why would it be any different with you than her? I was about to say, if they don't internalize it, then they might think no one does.
Right.
But if they feel that way, what are you, like a robot?
That apparently I'm a robot. And I think maybe she always thought that I was a bit emotionally disconnected from everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I could see how, maybe being like calm and, I think that can come off to people as detached when people are calm and not reactive.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you're not taking that in, and like, you can't not, energy is transferred and
absolutely
you have to sort of be protective of that is what I'm learning.
And then I would actually say maybe the opposite of that is, if you are calm, then you probably are more mindful and you probably are a bit more introspective.
Absolutely. And you're more analytical and critically thinking about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you may actually be taking on more.
Yeah. From my experience, I think that's the case. I will say, like, when you were talking about your provider and stuff, like when it does come to therapists and stuff, like, we should put all that on. Sometimes it's like almost like a challenge. I'm like, okay, you want here, let me dump, like, what do you want to do with this information? It's like, sure, I'll tell you, like, how I feel. And it's, I'm not like, maybe in the beginning when I first started therapy, which was like 8 years ago, it was definitely much harder for me to open up. And now it's like, all right, I'm just putting it all out there. Here you go. Have fun with this head case.
Right.
You know? But I've also, like, I think you were telling me this too, a lot of when your therapist was, didn't you tell me they were asking you questions you had already thought about these introspective things?
Yeah.
And I think that also helps facilitate the conversation. It helps also the healing process, because you've already done a lot of the introspective work. You're not like completely clueless as to why things are the way they are in your life.
For sure.
And a lot of people don't ask those questions of themselves and don't look inwards and think all of their problems are, external.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I realized my therapist was really good when he started asking questions that that took me by surprise. So not just questions that I had already thought about, because those I was really prepared for.
Right.
But then once he started questions and asking me things where I was like, wait, what? I don't know how to answer this. That's when I started doing so much work in therapy.
I love that. I think that now I'm like, I actually find it really refreshing if they ask me a question that I haven't thought about.
Right. Because if just thinking about your issues meant that you could solve them, then we wouldn't need therapy, right? So they're doing something right when they get to start asking you those questions.
Yeah,
for sure.
I become like, I wonder if I'm either like I'm such a little perfectionist type A person. I'm like, I want to be a good therapy student. And so I will like, pathologize myself to them. I'm like, well, these are my following cognitive distortions. I tend to go towards black and white thinking, catastrophizing. So I have this app that's also really cool. I do a lot of self-help shit. Actually, this might be my next podcast, is self-help shit, because I've done like an insane amount of reading, podcasts, workbooks, blah, and so it is like refreshing when they ask you something that you hadn't like considered. But I have this app that's really cool that takes you through all of this is before I could afford therapy or was in therapy, and like you could like it takes you through this cognitive behavioral therapy basically through an app. It's like tells you like, okay, here are the thought processes that you're having. Like, so whenever you have anxiety, you're basically falling into one of these like 10 categories of thinking.
Right.
And, the brain always wants to categorize things, and it's always, that's where like it's always like searching for a puzzle and if there's no problem to resolve, then it will create one to resolve. So it was really helpful. And, this as a neuroscientist, when the brain can label or name something or put a name to a feeling, then it helps calm down the amygdala, which is like the anxious part, or like the hyperactive kind of emotional
center.
Yeah, exactly. So it can calm that down, so you can process thoughts and feelings a little bit more efficiently and easier. So it's I definitely like love this stuff, and I find it really like fascinating. So I like those challenging questions.
Yeah, I have to say though, self-help is my least favorite kind of reading. That I wish I was better at that, but even self-help in general really just puts me off so much. Like going to a physiotherapist.
Well, a lot of it is like super bullshit crap. Like, a lot of it is bullshit. But what about physiotherapy?
Yeah, even physiotherapy, when you're supposed to do these exercises every single day, and I just can't do that.
I've never been. What did you do? Pull something?
Yeah, when I was 18, I got hit by a car while I was cycling in Copenhagen, and I landed on my lumbar area, and then injured it really badly. So then I had to go to physiotherapy. But all those exercises I had to do, I just would never do them. It was like, oh, you have to do this 3 times a day. No, just fix me. That's kind of what I wanted them to do. And I feel the same way about other kinds of self-help.
It's a journey. It's a process.
I need to go again because my knees are messed up from during the pandemic. I got into this crazy workout scheme where I was working out 5 times a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was unreal. I was so bored. I was the most trim I've ever been. And I had like abs and stuff, which was crazy for me. But it's not
sustainable.
It's not sustainable. But, I mean, I loved it. What did you do? I truly enjoy still working out like that, but I just don't have the time. I was doing a lot of HIIT workouts.
I love HIIT.
And I really got into, do you know the Nike coach?
Running Club app?
Joe. For the Nike Running Club or the training club.
Yes, I just used it I use it.
The guided runs are the best.
Great. Yeah. I also use Sweat app by Kayla Sinis. She's amazing. I do all of her HIIT workouts. They're amazing. It's like when I do them, I'm in the best shape of my life.
So for the workouts, I love Body Pump by Les Mills. That whole brand.
I haven't tried it. Where do you find that? Is it on YouTube?
So they have gyms where they do it, but they do have YouTube as well. And they made an app during the pandemic.
Oh, sweet!
Because obviously gyms were closed. But it's an Australian company, and they have all these locations in the UK.
Aussies, man, they're killing it with the workout.
They kill it with the workout. Yeah. All these like fit Sydney people.
Oh, she's so fit.
Yeah,
she's so. I love her workouts. They're really intense. I feel like we're just losing money here on plugging these apps.
Yeah,
sponsor us.
Yeah, sponsors. I do need a sponsor. So rather something that's healthy and helps people than tobacco companies.
I know, right? I love how we're talking about health and fitness and smoking hookah.
You know, everyone has a vice.
It's balanced. I don't trust people without vices.
Me neither. It means they're probably has psychological
their vice is
issue.
Murder.
Yeah.
Because I went out with this guy. I had like 3 dates. Like he was Palestinian. He was half Palestinian, half white. He nothing, not smoke, not drink. He didn't even he came over and he just had water.
Ew.
I was like, do you want tea, coffee? Do you want seltzer? I had a whole, and he was like, no, I'll just have water. And I'm like, I'm going to kill myself.
That is my least favorite kind of people.
You can't even have,
and that reminds me, I didn't offer you anything.
You bet. No, I'm kidding. No.
The worst
host.
You
offered me. No, I was late, so I think we were ready to hit the ground running. So, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
Wait, once you stop recording,
all good, all good.
But so what'd you do? Did you dump him because of that?
We went on 3 dates. He was just boring.
Oh,
surprisingly, not. It was, and I'm like, I don't trust you if you don't have any vice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're around comics who have too many vices and to an extreme, but I'm like, what is your outlet?
But comics are fun, right?
Comics are fun, yeah.
Yeah, that's because they have so many vices.
They're crazy. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I have a compulsive type of I wouldn't say I like OCD, but I definitely have compulsive tendencies.
Okay.
So I think that feeds into just overindulgence with anything, right? I think addiction. I was talking about this with my cousin. We're both compulsive and in different ways, and I think that lends itself to overindulging in anything that you do. So I try to also be disciplined and try not to overdo it with things,
right?
But
it's
hard.
I feel like you're a super disciplined person, but maybe that's the side of you that I see, because I know I'm not disciplined.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing a neuroscience PhD postdoc. So, I mean, what is it to be disciplined though?
Regimented is what I think of when I think discipline. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty routine, but I haven't been lately. And that throws me when I'm not in a routine. It throws me so much. I like routine and safety. That's maybe my type A Capricorn, kind of compartmentalize, put everything in a box, both physically and mentally. Try to put things in boxes. And in my house, I'm just like, can I find a box for this organized box? It's literal. But yeah, it's really, I think I give off this kind of image to people that I'm not saying is not like, maybe it's not the whole picture. I don't know. I think it also made me want to live up to this image, which I'm realizing more and more. Like this, like I am a perfectionist, but I say I'm like a recovering perfectionist, but I could also be like, I don't know.
Where did that image come from? Like, where did you?
My mom, my parents telling me that I like trying to hold me up to this perfect standard.
Oh wow.
And then this is why I'm such an advocate now, like talking about also mental health and medication and stuff. Like I'm full on, like I used to think if I take antidepressants or medication that it makes me weak. But then I'm like, why suffer? Why suffer? But I've had multiple people when I've told them that I'm on medication, they go, oh, well, you seem so put together. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm on medication. Do you think that if like being on medication makes you not a together person?
I guess that is what.
That's a connotation. And I fed into that. Like I for a while, I'm like, oh, I have to be this like, live up to this kind of image. And I don't know. It's kind of, also I'm not I'm not messy. I'm not emotionally messy. I'm not like a hot mess of a person. I will say that, but I have like today I was just crying on the couch at like 2 p.m. for like no reason.
No, why?
I don't know. I was overwhelmed. I was like doing a bunch of like just tying up loose ends on things, and a lot of things were up in the air, and that ambiguity and stuff just was giving me like anxiety. So I just like woke up with anxiety, and then it was just kind of, it was tough. But it's like to think that everyone has their moments and days.
Yeah, for me that was Sunday. Wait, that was yesterday. No, it was Saturday. I had one of those days where I just felt like crying for no reason. Yeah, I just felt overwhelmed.
Yeah, and then it was like my boyfriend was there, and he was like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to explain it. I don't even know what there is to explain." I was just like, "Just let me alone. Let me be." And he was like, I was literally on the couch and had a blanket over me crying, and he was like, I don't know what to do here." And I'm like, "Nothing. It's just like this is just how I deal."
What do guys think, that you're just on your period? Right? Is that what they think?
I mean, I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that might be part of it.
Reinforcing stereotypes.
But I know, but I was like, reinforcing stereotypes. I am. But also I was like, I think I've just been overwhelmed by, it's just compounded in little things. So it's hard, and it's like puts stress on me to have to articulate what's going on, because sometimes I just want to cry and just not have anyone question it.
I think that's okay. Sometimes a good cry is really good. Just get all that tension out of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm a big advocate for crying.
Me too. Let's cry right now.
Cry all the time.
Cry.
Stop laughing. Yeah. Start crying.
Yeah. Or do both. I laugh when I cry sometimes. Sometimes I laugh at myself crying because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Sometimes, depending on the situation, you can be like, oh, I'm crying. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm just an emotional person. I'm like very, very emotional. So it's hard for me not to cry.
I think that's great. To being emotional, being just emoting like that, and crying and getting out. That's all great. That's all.
I think so. I think it helps me relate to people. Like being emotional helps you relate.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, but I need to also like find the balance of not letting other people's emotions like mess with mine.
Yes. How are you doing that? Are you is there anything you're doing to prevent that?
I do daily visualizations of like energy protection and heal. And I also do Reiki. I do it on myself as well. I'm a Reiki healer.
How does that work?
I'll do it on you if you're open to it. You just touch the different like chakra points, and you're basically channeling like the energy from the universe and helping like align like the energy inside of you. It's really fascinating. I used to be a very skeptical person, and then I had it done on me for like 2 years, and then I became initiated into Reiki. And the more I get into it, I'm like, this makes sense to me.
That's cool. That's really cool.
There's science behind it too. Like you can look into the science. Like it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And then I, also the scientist in me was like, I got to research this. And I was like seeing it, like New York Presbyterian, where I did my internship and studied, does that as part of their complementary alternative medicine like
that's so
program.
cool.
So I was like seeing that they do, more places are adopting this like Eastern type of healing, and I was like, why the hell not? Like, I do everything. I do all the things: exercise, try to eat right, smoke my hookah. You know?
Yeah, well, it's a balance, like you said. You have to do all of it. And I think it is great that Western medicine is trying to adopt more of alternative. Well, even just calling it alternative is probably offensive.
Alternative, yeah, it's like, wasn't this really the main form of medicine?
Right,
and this is all
we invented drugs.
Yeah. I guess it's like East versus West is how I try to categorize it. But no, it is true. It's like anything. It's like it shouldn't be alternative medicine. It's the natural medicine. You know,
absolutely.
I mean.
And there's so much evidence for it. Every day there are papers out there being like, oh, we use this plant and then we saw that it affects this disease, that it helps with this disease.
And meditation. I mean, carving out new neural pathways and calming, you know, like it's fascinating. Absolutely. And just something like sitting and meditating, which I did this morning. And then I was still like, I'm so awake. I was like, but you know, it's something you gotta keep doing and practicing.
Yeah. I just, decided to start a new 30-day yoga challenge, because those really keep me going. Every time I do 30 days, I know that I have.
I guess what do you use?
I use yoga with Adrian.
Me too.
I love that.
Okay. Because I was gonna say we should hold each other. Like I would have done it with you. When did you start it?
I'm starting it yesterday. It's literally started yesterday.
Because I do yoga with Adrian as well. It's really great for back pain, and I mean I use it a lot for more therapy, like shoulder and neck pain, back pain. Okay. It's amazing. Like she's really good. She's so easy to follow. Just she breaks everything down so easily. And you don't feel like you have to be like a super yogi.
And she has this like calm energy, and she's kind of chill. She's funny,
quirky,
as well.
and just she's not. She doesn't take herself seriously, which I really appreciate. She's not like one of these like, you know, I don't know, self-righteous kind of yoga, like whatever.
I guess that's why she's like one of the most popular. As a white woman,
I mean, like, yeah. She's so popular.
When you type in yoga, she's the first thing that comes up.
I recommend her to everybody. She's great.
Another plug.
Adrian, sponsor us.
While we're smoking hookah.
While we're smoking. Yeah. Again, look, guys, we're going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Exactly.
All of it.
So what is is there any vice that you want to share other than this? I love hearing about people's vices.
I mean, God, do I want to admit any of these?
Maybe like a silly one.
Oh, a silly vice. Oh, okay. Because vice has like a negative connotation. It tends to be something that's like bad for your health, right? Yeah. I like to, God, what do I do? I mean, I like sugar, I love ice cream. I fucking love ice cream. Yeah. It's like my favorite. Yeah.
Is it a vice though if it gives you joy?
I think so. I think that's the purpose of a vice. Otherwise, why are you harming your body?
For sure. Yeah.
If you're not getting joy out of it, you're not doing vices, right?
That's kind of how I feel about it, though. It's like, this gives you pleasure.
It's like, what's self-care? What's a vice at some point?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This is like just browsing, like I guess retail therapy, or like browsing shit on Amazon, and then even like it'll just calm me. Also do just online even if I don't buy anything, it's just like window shopping, but through Safari. And that's like a vice. And then reading Amazon reviews of things.
Really?
Yeah.
Leaving reviews too?
No, I don't leave them. I'm a selfish user.
I think that's fine.
Oh, and then true crime. That's
really?
I think watching a lot of true crime.
I'm often wondering what it says about people that they're so into true crime.
I guess I'm a sociopath. It is weird because I'm like, I'm so sensitive and I can't hear about people's problems. I'm like, ooh, murder. Did her husband? I think because it feels so far from me. Although I guess like women are the target, but it's usually like white women and their like husbands or something. I don't know. That is a vice. That definitely is one. I think it's a silly one. I think it's harm. I had to quit for a while because I was listening to the podcast. I was watching it all the time. And then I was reading an article about how it increases your paranoia and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I do still check for monsters under my bed. So maybe I need to like cool it on the true crime. And I did for like 2 years and then like went back to it.
Oh, well. I mean, in New York, it probably isn't too bad to be like a bit paranoid.
Yeah, that's true. And Diet Coke. I try not to have it because I know it's not healthy. It's not good for you, but I love Diet Coke.
Yeah. That is one vice that took me ages to stop was Coke Zero.
Well, I quit it for a while and only recently it's been kind of, I try not to buy things and leave it, like keep it in my house. But there's certain foods when I go out, I'm like, if I have like Chinese food or pizza, it's like I want a beer usually if I'm at a pizza place, you know, but if I'm out, I like a Diet Coke.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been one of those things that slowly creep back. I didn't have any kind of like seltzer or soda for like 4 years.
Yeah.
But then this summer, because it's been so hot, it's been so nice to have like a can of Diet Coke or something like that. And it's just like,
well, I think there's nothing wrong with seltzer. I do a lot of seltzers. There's always seltzer. I always have like 3 flavors or something. Yeah. It also helps me hydrate.
That's true. Yeah, seltzer for sure is. I think it's just the fact that I find when I drink a lot of seltzer, I get used to the
fizziness.
The fizziness, and then that leads to Diet Coke.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why. But no, I think I've always like loved Diet Coke. I used to have a shirt, this little like baby tee that said Diet Coke for the taste, not because I need it.
That's true. That's cute.
It was during the height of my addiction.
Oh God. I used to love those Coca-Cola commercials with the
polar bears.
Polar bears. Wow.
Before they all died off.
All of them because of Coca-Cola.
Yeah. They used their last polar bears for their commercials.
It's so random, right? Why polar bears? It was a Christmas ad, I guess.
Was it?
Santa Claus was in there too, right?
Oh, I guess I don't
thing?
remember that. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen commercials in so long. Isn't that funny? I mean, thank God with streaming and stuff.
Oh my God! If there were commercials on Netflix, I would stop immediately.
Yeah.
There used to be in Turkish television a lot of Coca-Cola commercials around Ramadan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
a lot of food commercials in general around Ramadan.
Which is really problematic too.
I know. You're just watching it and you're like drooling. You're like, everything looks so good.
And in countries where there's a lot of wealth disparity, right?
Oh, of course. The whole Middle East there's no like middle class.
Right. So a lot of people who are watching TV as well are not going to be able to afford all that food.
Right.
So that's just very problematic.
Yeah.
I do remember in Turkey there was a petition to stop it because of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't think they won anything, but
Yeah. War on Coke and
the war on Coke. Yeah. There's this really cool charity and nonprofit organization that wanted to distribute medicine to like rural parts in some West African countries, I think. And because there's no transport out there, they found out that if they just loaded Coca-Cola trucks, they could actually get medicine out to all those places. Because Coca-Cola goes out to the most remote places on Earth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. How amazing
fascinating.
Is that? Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So there's a book that one of my best friends is just about to... He's written and it comes out in 2023. And he talks about all these companies and individuals that have learned how to hack the system.
Yeah.
And that nonprofit does that essentially. It hacks the system by using Coca-Cola trucks.
I love that. I was listening to a podcast. I forgot where, but it was basically like, this is a similar, just like saving costs of hospital by switching to like the glove being both ambidextrous, those latex gloves, and like spending half the amount of money now because you don't need a right glove and a left glove.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought that was like fascinating that they actually like changed the manufacturing of that glove so that it fits either hand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because all this time I've used gloves, it's always been that way. I wonder when they did that.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. It just, those like little, like, especially, I mean, we need to hack the healthcare system beyond just the glove. But
For sure.
It's just those things are kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
The studies. We're both nerds. We're like
very, very much so. Yeah. And what was the question? I was sitting with the question and then I forgot. Of course, I'm a great host.
because I'm blowing hookah on your face.
Yeah, it's great. I see you through the smoke.
Yeah, it's foggy. It's like, woo! Very mysterious.
Very mysterious. It's like a hookah place, essentially. It's always foggy.
Yeah, it's like when maybe that's like you date somebody. That's why arranged marriages work. You just go to these like hookah bars or like
with like purple lights.
Yeah. You can't really see the person that you're with, and you're like, everyone seems cool at that point.
Gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, I literally went yesterday with Katie actually.
Oh yeah, she invited me. I was so I wanted to join you guys, but I'm trying to take Sundays to just chill because it's the only day where I usually don't have shows. So I'm trying to just like regroup on a Sunday.
That makes sense. I started using Sunday to just do like admin and editing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do that on Fridays usually or something. Like I try to do that. And Mondays.
Fridays when work is over, I try to do nothing. Like just have fun. That's always Friday for me, but Saturday and Sunday.
What do you mean? Admin work is fun. I do enjoy my spreadsheets though.
You do? Life admin is the worst thing for me. I am the worst at life admin.
Like bills and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of, you know how you were like, I'm organized. I like putting things into boxes. I'm the kind of person who's like, out of sight, out of mind. Just put it away so that I can't see it. And then I don't have to deal with it. And it'll be at the back of my mind that eventually I have to deal with this thing, but it'll just eat at me and I won't do it. And obviously once I do it, I feel great about it. But by that time, it's so far gone that it's a problem now that I have to solve.
Yeah, you wait till the urgency is there.
Yeah.
Do you... Oh, wait, you remind me of something. Do you keep lists?
No.
To-do lists or any of that?
I only just started because I've been feeling so overwhelmed. So I've been like, all right, I need to do lists now.
Okay. I have a great notepad. Like it's a tearaway daily. And breaks it down into 3 top priorities, other to-do lists, and then it's a time block so you can then write in when you're going to do those things for that day.
Oh, wow.
And then I just rip it off and then transfer whatever I have from the previous day to the next day, whatever I haven't finished, and then try to put time slots in for doing it. I'll send it to you. It's like a notepad that you just like...
Just download
No, it's just a paper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you just tear off every day.
Oh, interesting. Because I'm in the lab, right? So lab work is... it kind of is temperamental. Like some days you
can't go by
no.
Yeah, and you're I guess
you
it
can
depends
never
on the
predict what the next day is going to look like because you need the results of today to figure out what you're doing tomorrow.
Right.
So because of that, if it makes it really difficult, and that's always one thing that I loved about science is that every day is kind of different.
Yeah.
But it makes it difficult when you're also trying to combine it with a whole other field of work.
For sure. And then trying to plan. Yeah. I like to plan. I like to know what my day is going to look like. Yeah. I find safety in routine, but it's also important to not be rigid. Mm-hmm. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I'm working on a lot of things.
Yeah. So when was you said the first time you did hookah, you were like 10 years old.
I think it's the first time I tried it. I wasn't like a regular, but probably more regularly when I was a teenager.
Was it in Alabama?
No, Palestine.
Oh, so how long did you live there?
I mean, I went there every summer, but I lived there throughout my childhood till high school. On and off.
Whoa, I didn't know that until high school.
Yeah, till ninth. I finished out 9th grade, then came back 10th, 11th, 12th. College, and then moved to New York after college.
Oh, wow. So you have a very strong connection then.
Yeah. I mean, I moved there when I was a baby. I lived there throughout the first and second intifada. And like, I would go, when we weren't living there, we'd spend every summer there.
Yeah, I feel like most immigrant families do that. They go back for summers, but I never had any kind of education in Turkey. So there's not that connection with it in the same way. Yeah. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Yeah. It was really important for my parents and my mom, especially for us to be like ingrained in the culture and to have that sense of belonging. And it definitely is there.
I love that. So I know that you have a very strong Palestinian identity. Do your siblings too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they also had to do that to go to. That's great. Yeah.
We're all very like hardcore, like very strong identity.
Mm. What about your Alabama identity? Is that a thing?
I try to forget it every day.
You're like, I'm more of a New Yorker than
I am at this point. I mean, I've been living in New York 14 years.
You know, I think it's okay for you to call yourself a New Yorker now.
Can I? Because I've lived here more than any other place.
Isn't that what's important? That's the place you lived in the most, so that's your home.
Yeah. Because even if I divide the other like 20 years, like I probably lived, like maybe, I don't know. It's kind of hard to quantify. Maybe like most of my life has now been, not most of my life, maybe like a third of my life here. Probably like, I don't know. It's between Alabama and Palestine. It's like maybe 50% of my life in Alabama, 40%. It's hard to.
Yeah.
40% Alabama, 30% Palestine, and 30%, if I had to, New York, maybe.
All right. So New York is coming up soon to be like.
Yeah.
Even more than Alabama.
Although I really have to sit and do the math because maybe I have been in New York longer than Alabama.
Right. Because 14 years is a third of your life, right?
I'm 35.
No, it's more than third.
More than a third. Yeah. I'm 35.
Yeah. So that leaves 21 and that's 10 and a half years. And
if we split it between,
so you have lived.
I've lived here more than any other place. I think it's just hard when you're like not born in a place and you didn't spend your formative years in a place. That tends to be where you call home.
Absolutely.
And coming here as, I guess, an adult, like I was 21. I mean, I guess an adult. I was an adult, but like you're 21. You're just also like not fully grown.
Formative is your early childhood. Is that what people always use it as? Okay.
Up until your teenage years, which I lived in both, again, Palestine and Alabama.
You know, I have to say though, I feel like the place you grow as a person is the place where you have the strongest connection.
It's probably New York and Palestine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there was this one city that my family lived in for 3 years in Denmark. And it was in those 3 years, I changed so much as a person that I really grew into my personality. And for the longest time, I thought of myself as being from that town, from that city. And it was only 3 years of my life.
That's what age?
I was 12 to 15.
Yeah, see, that's a very formative time. I was in Palestine during those years.
And so that was my identity for the longest time. And then when I moved to the UK, I felt like I was from 25 to 31. And I felt like I changed a lot in those years too. Really changed a lot of things about myself. And so I also have a really strong connection to the UK now. So it's kind of interesting. I guess it is what you make of it. Home is what you want to call home. It's okay. New Yorkers are so snobby about who's a New Yorker.
I know, it's so fun. But you know what? It's not even New Yorkers. It's other transplants that want to like claim their New Yorker status. But New Yorkers don't care. They're just like, whatever.
Right, because they're jaded. Yeah,
they don't give a shit about your identity with New York. I'm just like, who are you? I don't give a fuck. Just get out of my way.
Just walk quicker. That's all they care about. Yeah. I have to say, those slow walkers,
they're the worst.
They're the worst. They're the worst humans on earth.
Yeah.
Except when I do it, in which case it's okay.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm always like yelling at pedestrians, but I do that when I'm driving, and then when I'm walking, I'm yelling at cars.
Yeah, I hate cyclists when I drive.
They're the worst.
But I have been a cyclist like all my life. I always bike to places.
Yeah.
I'm just about to get a bike here in New York too, so that I can start biking here again, because that's been such a big, part of my life. But Denmark, the UK, you just bike everywhere.
It's way more accessible there though. Yeah. And more
not as dangerous as
not
here.
as dangerous. That's why I don't bike here.
Yeah. It is. I'm just keeping track of time. Okay. So, did you have any fun hookah stories? Did you ever have anything?
Hookah stories?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I've like gotten sick from hookah more no, as I smoke, don't worry. I've thrown up in every coffee shop in the West Bank. Because I would just be out with friends, I'd smoke, and then not know like my limits. So I've definitely thrown up more from hookah than alcohol or anything like
For sure.
combined. So I have all these ridiculous stories of just like there hasn't been one bathroom that I haven't thrown up in. This is how I christened a new coffee shop.
Yep, that was my early 20s too.
Yeah, it didn't happen this summer, but I barely smoked when I was in Palestine because of that.
Okay.
Also, try not to combine alcohol and smoke and hookah because it really fucks things up. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a drinking culture in Palestine?
In Ramallah, where I'm from,
Okay.
it's more like secular and like also the population's like half Christian, half Muslim in Ramallah. So like that helps remove the stigma a little bit. Yeah.
That's cool.
But people our age all like drink, and yeah, we have like a couple of local breweries and that are really good.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah, because in Turkey, in my city, it's not a thing. Only men drink.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whiskey.
And whiskey, yeah.
It's always whiskey.
Johnny Walker,
Yeah.
Black Label. That's what Arabs love.
Always that. I think it's the same one they all drink. But yeah, for women, no. But in Istanbul, obviously, it's different.
Yeah.
It's funny because...
Oh, yeah. I would say Ramallah is kind of like the Istanbul of like the West Bank.
It's like, you want to drink, fine. You don't want to drink, fine. The thing was, in Istanbul, one thing I noticed when I went back around the time where it was getting more... it was getting more polarized. You know, like over the last 20 years, the city's been changing a lot with the current government. So there was a time where they went from being like, you know, people's party, like looking out for everyone, to being to kind of starting oppressing certain groups. And I remember going to this, they had started to shut down a lot of bars because of like, if there was a bar in a regular neighborhood, they're like, we don't want alcohol around families. So we're going to shut these down. So they started shutting these down. So only if you went to like the nightclub areas, you could get alcohol. So as a response to that, in the more like affluent and liberal secular parts of Istanbul, the bars would be like, you have to drink alcohol or you can't be here. I was like, why does this country always have to be so black and white?
That's hilarious.
It's so messed up, right?
It's just like, prove you're not a narc.
Exactly. Prove you're not one of them.
Right. But they could be undercover. No, I don't know. That's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. And that's one of the things that icks me the most about Turkey, is that it's always polarized. I
think that's the Middle East.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm generalizing, but it does feel that way.
Yeah, it does. It does. Whereas here, I feel like here, there is just this acceptance of, oh, you don't want to drink, you don't want to smoke, you don't want to do this. Fine,
yeah,
whatever.
but when you meet a Muslim who doesn't, is part of you kind of like, are you a super religious zealot that we're not going to like get along? Like sometimes I have that. Maybe that's just the judging me because I grew out of that.
I think, yeah, I think I'm okay with it now, but there was a time in my life where I would have been wary of those people, because I would have been like, are they going to judge me a lot?
Exactly. I think that a lot of times that fear, honestly, of just us being judged, and they probably just don't care.
Yeah, and whereas now I'm like, oh, you're going to judge me? I don't give a shit about that now. But there was a time where I did.
That too.
I wasn't comfortable with it yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah. But yeah, I haven't met that many Muslims here that don't do things. So.
Especially New York.
Yeah. Also, I'm probably not in those spaces.
Yeah.
You know, you start
wearing
going
comics and stuff. Yeah. So the people we meet are degenerates. like us.
Oh, yeah. And so you're dating in a relationship. And when I met you, you weren't. So that's been like...
I wasn't.
No.
When did we meet?
Well, last year.
Wait, when?
So I came to your Halloween party.
I had just started dating my boyfriend like a month prior, and he was supposed to be there. It's a long story. That's still like a kind of a recurring joke. Like he basically was trying to, he came like, it ended up coming way late after everybody left, but he got like stuck at this other party or whatnot. But it became a running joke right now about my Halloween party. And I was like, oh, you were there, right? Oh, right. You weren't. Because, but yeah, and I think we had met like a month prior.
I think so. The first show I ever did here was probably around September. That's where we met at a show in Crown Heights, I think. And then
yes,
we stayed in contact.
September.
It was September.
Right. And I had not dated, right. We had, I think my boyfriend and I like met like a week later, 2 weeks later. We met like mid-September.
Yes, I just met you, and you were, I think I reached out to you. Maybe I asked about shows. I don't know if I did, but I tried to like connect with the people I had met, especially like POC women. And I think you were the first person in the comedy community to invite me to something, and I was like, "Aw, it was so sweet."
People need to be more open, I guess. Yeah. I can't imagine. You said that another, like, Hodo said that, and I'm like, why are people not being more inclusive?
Right? And I met so many people around that time, again, like POC women, and I thought, oh, this will be like my community, my people. But it didn't end up that way. It was just like select few that I also just like tried to like lure in with my charms, you know.
It worked for me at least. But yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, and I feel like especially if it's another like Muslim woman, even like culturally, whatever, I feel like this instant kind of connection, and we're doing stand up, we're in New York, we're immigrant, like we're like, it's so many things that are happening that we have in common. Not to say that alone is a reason to be friends with people, because I've learned that also that doesn't necessarily it's not enough to sustain a friendship. But I want everybody to know each other and get along and like meet other people. And I know how hard and lonely New York can be when you first move here. And I just don't want anyone to experience that or feel like they don't have a lifeline or someone, you know, that just like, that's also my own personal, like, like being here and feeling like lonely and sad. And I just never want anyone to feel that way.
That is so lovely. I wish everyone thought that way. That's so, you're a gem.
Oh, you're a gem. I'm glad we met.
We made it. Yeah. we got to the other side of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would you recommend someone moving to New York? What would you tell them to do?
Oh, man. I guess it depends why you want to move here. If you can do what you want to do in another place, do that. If you don't like the grind, the hustle bustle, the like craziness, if you want a calm place, don't come here. But I like the craziness. I mean, we come from crazy cities, right? Istanbul, Denmark. Like, I don't know how Denmark is, but like Copenhagen. Yeah. So I would say like, find a place that you can find a community. Like it was easier for me to make friends because I knew a few people here. I went to grad school. That's easier, but it's hard when you come here if you're coming for comedy or art, you can find your community. So I guess whatever you do, try to find your community. Yeah.
That was the advice that I got from Jared Waters when I came to his
sweetheart.
His park show.
Everybody.
He knows everyone.
Like within a week, he's already like mayor of New York.
Well, what he said to me was, first you find your people and then you lift each other up. And I was like, that is a mayor thing to say. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, he's lovely. Well, Atheer, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the hookah.
Yeah, how can people find you?
Follow me on Instagram. I post everything there. There's my link tree. It's at Atheer Yacoub, AtheerYacoub. And check out. That's where I post shows and everything.
And you have a podcast called
The No Fly List.
No Fly List.
And maybe soon a self-help podcast.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Because you do the research, so we want to know from you.
I'll give you the TLDR.
Because I can't be bothered to read all of that. I just need someone to tell me. So and you can follow me on Jansudistat on Instagram, CANSUDISTAT. Please follow the podcast, leave a review, comment, show us some love, follow me on Patreon, join my Patreon. Thank you.
Thanks.